what do you remember questions or what they asked for you to be like diagnosed that you have an eating disorder? Like, what are the telltale signs, I guess?
Yeah. So first you have to realize there's 4 primary eating disorders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's binge eating disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk a lot about that, right? In the bariatric world.
We do,
And
yeah.
it changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows what binge eating disorder is primarily,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's binging, eating an excessive amount. It looks a little bit different as a post-op, right? That's where you're going to see the eating a lot of slider foods, eating like high calorie, sugary foods, things like that. Eating past the feeling of fullness,
Yep.
right? Like that's kind of how it'll look. It's not before surgery. It might look like getting 3 meals at the McDonald's drive-through, eating one for yourself in the car and taking home 2, and then eating the second one.
Guess what, guys?
We're not doctors.
No, we are not.
If you're going to be making any major medical decisions, please consult your doctor.
That includes diets, exercise, medications, and surgery.
We love you guys.
And we want you to continue to be in our OSLP family forever.
So be careful and consult your doctors. Have you heard of ProCare, or just have you been living under a rock?
ProCare is the very first bariatric multivitamin to develop a 1-a-day vitamin. That's right, you heard it correctly. 1 a day. And they also have delicious dark chocolate calciums that are available during the winter months.
That's right. So go to procarenow.com, get your calcium chews, get your multivitamin, and use OSLP for a discount. What is Sequence?
Well, Sequence is an at-home weight loss program. All you have to do is take the quiz, meet your clinician, get your prescription, and you're already on the way to a healthier you. I know when I felt hopeless with my regain, I joined right away.
And I saw great results with Kel, so guess what? I joined. So go over to joinsequence.com right now, use OSLP, and you're going to get a discount.
Are you feeling a little sluggish? Little lack of protein? Little lack of caffeine? Well, we got the fix for that.
That's right. Dive Bar Nutrition has the best protein bars. They have caffeine, protein, and they taste delicious.
So head on over to divebarnutrition.com and use code OSLP at checkout. Back OSLP family!
Welcome. That was weird. You don't normally do that.
I wanted to throw you off.
Oh. Do your part.
You are listening to our Sleep Life podcast, and this is Kelly.
This is Mel.
And so, website.
We have a website. If you don't know,
we have a website.
Yeah, we do. We've had it for a couple years now.
Yes,
it's going strong.
It is going very strong, and we just revamped, rebranded, if you like. Certain things on our website. So go check it out. If you are not signed up for our newsletters, please go do that now. We will wait.
And it's on oursleeplifepodcast.com.
If you couldn't guess.
Yes, if you couldn't guess. But that is what the website is.
Yes.
We have merch on there. We have like ways to become a patron on there.
We might have some digital things coming to our website very soon that I've designed. It might already be up there. So go search around in the digital world.
That's right.
And
I love how we're like, okay, we love everybody, but we have been on for like 2 episodes before this.
So if I'm stuttering or not sure what I'm saying, that is why.
So there is a button on our website, and it says become a patron. Now, this is a way that you guys can support your girls because it does cost money to produce a podcast.
It's surprisingly, yes,
we didn't realize it too. Like,
yeah, it actually takes
a
lot of money.
There's fees in here.
Yeah.
So to help us out, go over to patreon.com/OSLP. Pick one of the tiers. Our favorite tier really is the $10 tier because you get everything. You basically, you get the episodes before they even come out. You get the video episode before all YouTube gets to see it. You get a That's What She Said corner once a month from Kelly and Mel. And you even get a monthly meeting, a Patreon meeting with us where we get to hang out with you guys. You guys get to come on, ask questions, go over any like NSVs, struggles, and we have our support group.
Yes, and our support group is one of a kind.
It is.
Because it is not like those normal Facebook groups that are very scary, let's be honest. They are terrifying.
They can be very terrifying.
This is not that. this is a very supporting, uplifting, positive place to be. Now, not to say that you can't share your struggles there also, but we very much stay within the support group row.
Oh, 100%.
Lane. That's right. The word.
I was going to say, like, they were there for us when we go through our struggles. Kelly's had regain. I've had regain. We both have gone, or I'm still going through a divorce. She's gone through a divorce.
Divorced, thank God.
So they are some really our support.
Yes.
And we support them too. And it's just a really good feeling.
It really is.
And there's almost 300 people. We got men and women. We got ages from like 24 up to in the 60s.
70s, maybe 80s. I don't know
anymore.
Yeah.
But we want you guys to be a part of it because it's such a welcoming place.
Yes. So the free way to support us.
There is a free way.
There is a free way.
Always.
Go on to YouTube. It is preloaded on your phone. You have no excuse.
No excuses.
And you need to click that, put in Our Sleeve Life Podcast.
That's right. We're the only ones.
We're the only ones. Click the bell. Click the subscribe button so that you're notified when future videos like this one drop, because we have a very cool person on here.
We do.
Actually, another person we met at retreat, because we just met so many amazing people. So we want to welcome on Kitty.
Hello, everyone.
Onto the podcast. Sorry, I was delayed on that one. I don't know what happened.
Oh my God.
I got you.
I'll snap into it eventually.
Kitty, tell them why you're so special.
Well, I'm special because my name is Kitty, and that's just spectacular and a unique name. And it's like my actual name, right? It's not like some fake name I just made up.
I love it.
But I'm also special because I had VSG in 2016, and I was informed at retreat that makes me an OG.
It is. Yep.
What? I did not realize that is, I have achieved that pinnacle. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm also a licensed clinical social worker, and I am in private practice. I also own my own business in Texas.
Okay.
So I see eating disorder clients and trauma clients, addiction, recovery, things like that. And I see a lot of bariatric patients. And so I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about my story and kind of the work that I do.
Yeah, and we got to learn a little bit about it at retreat. And that's one of the things that we loved, was the fact that you've been where we are.
Yeah.
You're a therapist that's been where we're at, and that is like really hard to find.
It is.
So thank you for giving back.
Yes.
And I want to know, when did your like weight struggle start? Because mine was like basically since I was a baby. So.
Oh, yeah. Mine started, I was probably 21, and I was pregnant with my first kiddo.
Okay.
And at the same time, my thyroid decided to stop functioning, but I didn't know that. And so my weight with that pregnancy just ballooned, right? And I was like, whoa, what is happening here, right? Yeah. It scared me a little bit. 100%. And, I had my oldest, and who is going to be 30 next year, which I can't believe that I'm old enough to have a 30-year-old kid.
Wow.
It's crazy. So she, I had her, and the weight stayed and didn't go anywhere. And, that really started kind of this journey of being in the medical community, because I started having other health issues. And then, doctors are like, well, if you would just diet and exercise. And I'm like, I'm literally starving myself, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm preaching to the choir, which is part of why I wanted to talk about this so much in this space. And, I'm still where y'all are at, right? I've had regain, I've had issues, I still have health issues, right? And so I just wanted to talk about that. So I started gaining weight in my 20s, and it just kept going and going and going, and really no answers.
Well, like we actually hear that one all the time, where like you go in even for like a broken leg, and they'll tell you need to lose weight.
That's healthy. That's healthy right there, Mel.
It's getting better. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, but they don't really give you any clear answers. It's not like they listen when you say, I am eating, like, I'm not really eating anything. They're just like, oh, well, let me get you to this like weight loss clinic and they'll handle it from there. Or, it's never like any answers. You're just kind of like sent out of the office with this like guilt that I've gained weight.
Yep.
And shame, right? And so what I actually tell my clients now is when they hear that from their doctors is tell them, ask your doctor, what would they do if you were skinny?
Ooh, I haven't heard that one yet. What would you tell me if I was thin?
Right. What test would you run if I had a normal BMI?
Yep. I like it because that is so warranted. Because there is discrimination against like bigger or obese people. We know it. We've been there. We felt it. And I'm literally seeing TikTok videos and Instagram reels all the time about this. It seems like there's more happening now than ever with this. And I just don't understand it. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. And it's really shaming. And the reality is that, the mental health support, I mean, I had my surgery before the pandemic, right? And so when I had surgery, my surgery center was having like monthly, at least, in-person support groups. And they're not even doing that anymore. I mean, it's pretty scary. I can't speak for other states, but in Texas, like the mental health support related to bariatric surgery is like non-existent, which is what you guys are talking about your thing on Patreon. I was like, sign me up. Come join
us. We would love you.
Come join us.
Community is one of the best support that you can get.
Yeah.
If you can't get a therapist, you better be in this fucking community all in.
Yeah.
Because it is rough. It's rough.
Yeah. Well, I had a really great grad school professor that said, kind of back in the day that said, people were healing from their trauma before they were therapists. And that's because they had community, right? And so if we can have more community, and that's part of me giving back and being on here and all of that, is because community matters, representation matters.
It does. And the hard thing is that the pandemic also created a lot of trauma for a lot of people.
Oh, hell yeah, it did.
And so the fact that there's no longer in-person support groups, even at your bariatric center, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah. Like, you guys better be doing a Zoom call then.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I mean, it has to be something.
Yeah.
But a lot of times too, right? I mean, even when I would attend those things or things that I've attended since then, it's like a dietitian coming in and saying, get your protein. Like, it's like stuff that's just like, come on. We're like, most of us are so far past that. I know how to eat. I knew how to eat when I was overweight. I was dieting for like a decade at least before I had bariatric surgery. I don't need somebody to tell me again. Portion.
Yeah. That's why I like our Zoom meetings, because we literally pick a topic. So like last month it was snacking. How can we get a hold of our snacking, and we all people raise their hands, they answer. We actually learned something pretty cool that like blew me and Mel's minds. Is somebody that's in our support group. She's also a therapist, right?
Therapist. Yeah, we have a few therapists, a lot of nurses.
Yeah, a lot of nurses.
I love
and
nurses,
she goes, people are typically eating and snacking at the time that their trauma happened. So if a lot of your trauma happened in the evening, you're more apt to snack in the evening because you're trying to soothe yourself through that time that it was very traumatic. And me and Mel were just like, looked at each other and we're like, shit. Yeah, well, now we know.
Now we know. Because it blew our mind. Because I was like, yep, that happens at nighttime.
Yep.
100%.
The other thing we do is we eat to avoid going to bed.
Oh, yeah. I've watched my ex do that a lot. It drove me fucking bonkers.
Go to sleep.
Go to sleep.
Fucking sleep.
Go to sleep.
2 a.m. I should not be hearing you eat in my ear.
Go
Don't
to bed.
miss that. Just saying.
Go to bed. I love it. So what
was your why?
I'm done. You just take it over from here.
When you feel better.
What is my why?
What is your why?
I love this question so much because I think when you get really zeroed in on why am I here? Why am I making this decision? That's when you have clarity and success, right?
Yeah.
So a little story is that my father, like I was in my 20s and, I was gaining weight and I was like, what the heck is going on? Getting terrible medical care. And then my father, who was a type 2 diabetic, became very, very ill. And he had multiple strokes and ended up on life support. And he had a DNR, do not resuscitate, that was violated. And so my brother and I was 27, my brother was 24, and we took him home to pass. And, yeah, so I mean, that's the sad part of the story, but the why is that, right? Why was that? That was very motivating for me because I have 3 kids, but 2 of them at the time were like 3 and 6. I hadn't had the 3rd one yet.
Okay.
And, they were very, very little. And so for me, I was like, I will never, never do this to my kid. I don't care what it takes. I will never put my children through this.
Yeah.
My father, he had a lot of his own, demons, but he really he would go days and days without taking insulin, and he would really neglected his health.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so, he really, he did this to himself. Didn't have to be that way, and I let him hold responsibility for that. But for me, it was very motivating in like, I will never be that. And so every time throughout my whole, even to this day, when I'm making decisions regarding my health, I'm like, am I holding my promise? It is always like, that promise is my North Star in every decision that I make, as far as diet, when I decided to have bariatric surgery, all of those things. It was, is this supporting me keeping my promise to my children? Yeah, so that's why. Yeah.
How old was your dad?
He was 58.
Oh, I remember this now because my dad was 59 when he passed, and it was frustrating because his was liver cancer, which is 99% preventable. So I was very angry. I went through that whole stage. I remember being angry with him, and my husband at the time was like, you can't be mad at your dad. He's sick. And I was like, I know I don't want to be mad, but I'm fucking pissed because he didn't take care of his health and didn't think in my head, because I was still like, I was 25 when he died.
Right.
And I was just like, why? He doesn't care enough about his health for me and my brothers. Like,
right.
Because that's how we take it. So, like, if our parents aren't healthy, so all the parents out there, or all the step parents or bonus parents out there, listen up, because those kids watch, they listen, whether they look like they're listening, they are, and they get very offended when you're not taking care of yourself, because then they think, am I not, I literally told this to my dad once, was like, I just felt like I wasn't important enough for him to stay around. And I felt bad saying it, but I felt it in that moment, and he just cried. And it's awful. And we don't want to watch our parents go that early. Like, we should not be seeing our parents go in our 20s. Like, we're not in the early 1900s anymore. Like, we have healthcare, we have technology, and we just have to take care of ourselves. It's a big deal. It really is.
I like that it's a promise to you.
Yeah.
To you, that you revert back to, like, I made myself a promise. I made my kids a promise.
Yep.
And I'm going to hold tight to that.
I'm going to use that. Did you write that down?
I did.
I knew it. Huh?
I made him a promise too, right? Like, I promised him that I wouldn't do that. So, I promised him, like, he really couldn't let go until he heard my brother and I say, we will stay with each other. We will take care of each other. We will protect each other. Right. So he loved us. His issues were just bigger than his love for us. Right. And some of that's not his fault. Right. And some of it is, but that's okay. And so, so I promised him that. And now, I'm watching my brother's hair turn gray, which my dad never got to see. Right.
Yeah.
And as we get older and so it's not just a promise to myself. It's a promise to my husband. My husband and I had I think we've been dating like a month when all of this happened.
Wow.
So I know, right? I was like, wow. And we're still going, right?
Yeah.
We're still
He's a keeper.
23 years later, we're still together.
I love that.
I know. And he was but my dad never got to meet him, right? This person who I've now been with almost half my life.
Yeah.
My dad never met him, right? My dad never met two of my nephews or my third child.
I was going to say your third child. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my brother feels, because my dad has not met the last two. Natalie and Josh have no idea who grandpa is.
Yeah.
And it's very weird.
Well, and he didn't get to watch Michael grow up. Become a man. It's weird, but he's weird. A man.
I know.
I mean, I babysat that kid.
Me and my younger brother are 15 years apart. So he just turned 21 in July, so it just feels so odd.
It's odd.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you, I have a brother who is 12 years younger than me, so pretty big age difference as well, and he is about to turn 40. And I was like, no, I cannot. You're not allowed to turn 40. I'm supposed to still be changing your diapers, and you're supposed to be slobbering on my face.
Yeah.
Mark, I love you if you're listening, which I know he's not. So it's okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
Awesome.
Well, and before we got on here, you told us that you specialize in eating disorders, and
I
that
do.
the reason why you do is because some of the eating habits you had before surgery. So what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So this is a great, talking about the death of my father leads directly into, kind of how I really developed a very disordered relationship with eating. Okay. So my weight was skyrocketing. I had been diagnosed with one autoimmune condition at that time with this Hashimoto's. And then my dad died, and I was in a new relationship, right? And about 3 years after my dad died, I got pregnant with my youngest and developed gestational diabetes.
Okay.
And I was like, we're going to die.
I was
just like, we're going to die. I'm going to die, right? Like that. And what made that so terrible was that I would go to the doctor for insulin because I had to be on now they treat gestational diabetes a little bit differently, but this was almost 20 years ago. And so at that time, the only option was insulin. You couldn't take anything else. I think they do differently now. So I was put on insulin and sent to a dietitian as part of the hospital that I was part of. And they were like, you're losing weight. And I'm like, well, because if I take the amount of if I eat the amount of carbs that you want me to eat, my blood sugar is 300, which you also don't want. And they're like, well, you'll have to figure it out. You gotta, if you don't eat this way, you and your baby are going to die. And I was literally told that repeatedly by registered dietitians, endocrinologists, and my OBGYN.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So if you don't do this, if you don't eat in this way, if you're not perfect enough, you and your baby are going to die. And so, man, I just became a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I used to be able to tell you how many carbs were in a tater tot. I knew that information because I had to we didn't have CGMs, right? We didn't have all the tools that they have now. You had a book in which you were carb counting and all this kind of stuff. So that really led to this very kind of anorexia-like state where I was just drilling into the details and perfectionism and all those kinds of restriction.
Yeah, because you didn't want you and your baby to die.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just literally scared straight.
But not in a good way.
But not in a good way.
Yeah.
Because the thing is I wasn't eating wrong.
No.
I wasn't doing anything wrong, right? I was just trying to eat. And so the last 3 months of the pregnancy, I was eating as endocrinologist was telling me to eat, taking the amount of insulin I was supposed to take, and I gained no weight. And they were mad. Then they would get mad at me. They're like, you're not supposed to lose weight. And I'm just like, I can't fucking win.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here.
Yes, you are. 100%
you
are.
Fucking are. There
yeah.
You
there you go.
I was like, I cannot win, right? I'm doing everything perfectly and I'm still losing, right? I'm still losing this game. So they ended up taking my youngest via C-section a week early because the diabetes was so brittle and fragile that they were like, if you go in, we can't risk you going into labor or you could both die, right? So again, right? And mind you, I had just lost my father to diabetes 3 years before, right? So I was like, well, that's not happening because remember, I that promise,
that's
right?
You made that promise, man.
Made that promise. And so I was like, by God, I'm going to make, keep that promise. So, I had my youngest and, they were like, oh yeah, once you give birth, the diabetes goes away. It's all part of the, what is that? The placenta and all this kind of stuff. Well, diabetes is so genetic in my family that like, every one of my cousins has it. I have it still to this day. I have it. And even though I'm a normal weight, yes, you can still be a type 2 diabetic with normal weight.
Yep.
And so my grandmother was actually even on pig insulin. Like that's how diabetic she was in like the 30s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yes.
Pig
that
insulin?
The first insulin was actually extracted from pigs because it's the closest to human insulin.
Oh my God, I had no clue. And for those that don't know, what is I'm going to say it wrong.
Gestational diabetes.
Gestational diabetes is usually a type of diabetes that only affects pregnant women.
Okay.
And it is usually completely associated with the placenta. And I don't know the science around why that is. I just know that is the case. Usually that was not the case for me.
Got it.
It was so genetic, right? Okay. And so, I'm in the hospital, just had this kid, and I'm like, give me a freaking Starbucks. Like, I need some Starbucks, right? I've just given birth. I'm tired, and I want I don't know. I don't even remember what I got, like a mocha latte or something like that.
Okay.
And my blood sugar shot up to 300. And they were like, oh, so it's not, for you, it's not just gestational diabetes. Like, you are a diabetic. And so then that diagnosis began an entire journey.
I'm sure.
Endocrinologists, losing weight, trying to lose weight to get rid of the beatus, right? To get rid of the diabetes. Because the prevailing idea is that if you have a normal BMI, you will not be diabetic. There's still the idea that type 2 diabetes is somebody's fault, that they do it to themselves, which is bullshit. It is not true. And I listened to that and believed that for a long time. And so I would just keep dieting and doing everything and tracking and, really punishing myself with food and getting this very exercising just hours a day and not losing weight at all. And they're like, well, you must just track your food. Just track your food. And I'm like, I am so beyond that. So beyond that. So I, at 35, I developed really horrible fibroids and had a hysterectomy.
Okay.
And then 2 years later had premature ovarian failure. And so was in menopause at 37. And I've been on HRT since then. So that was kind of another autoimmune condition. I've now been diagnosed with allergy to wheat, non-celiac gluten allergy, right? So it's just like spiraled one thing after another.
Yeah. And those who are wondering what HRT is, it's hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
Correct.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, it is hormone replacement therapy. I am on straight estrogen and I was put on pills, which my body was not absorbing, and my doctor never checked my levels. And so I was also in the last month diagnosed with osteoporosis.
Oh my God. Kelly's about to lose her shit over here.
What the fuck? God. Like, what the actual fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like
how are they not testing and checking and...
So I think that typically, one, sexism.
Yeah.
Right. Standard of care is that if you're not experiencing symptoms of menopause, that's why we give estrogen or HRT. We give it to prevent the symptoms. Now, my doctor said I'm giving it to you to prevent bone loss, but she still went under the standard of care, which is to not check. So again, sexism.
Question.
Standard of care is to not check?
Please.
The standard of care is to not check your levels.
Yes.
That's weird.
How
right?
is that a standard of care? And I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the person. I'm mad at the doctor for you. So yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know. Because they think that like giving women estrogen, side note, giving women estrogen or HRT is about sexual function, and that's not necessary. And I'm like, I call bullshit on that.
That is ridiculous.
Right? And so if the federal government will pay for Viagra for men, you can pay for estrogen for women to continue to have a sex drive and not live in misery.
But it's not just a sex drive, though. Like, there's so many factors for estrogen. Like,
correct.
Like the hot flashes, the hormone, like up and down and being all unstable. And
I'll tell you what, it's even more than that. Actually, studies are coming out now talking about estrogen and cognitive function as you age, right? It prevents Alzheimer's, heart disease. God. It prevents heart disease. I know, right? I'm like, I've got to talk about this because nobody is talking about this. And I know we're talking about a lot of things, but like this is really important too, especially as y'all are younger than me, right? And so it's like, it's really important that we get educated about our bodies and estrogen, and nobody is talking about menopause, and it's like, you're going to spend half your life in menopause.
Yeah, you will. And the fact that
HRT, to put that in there, Jesus Christ.
I know.
But there's no periods, y'all, so.
Oh, I don't have one anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I'm 37 and still have, it's regular. It's, on time.
I haven't had it in, 8 years. It's fine.
It's
fine. I don't want kids.
But I was going to say is that they should check levels because then they can figure out the dose of estrogen that you have.
Or are you absorbing it, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm someone who's had IBS my whole life. Now, of course, we know it's because I have allergy to gluten, right?
Yeah.
But that means that my intestines were damaged and I wasn't absorbing nutrition.
See, and you have to get tested to know that.
Well, this is the whole thing. This is the whole fight that I have with people that think that they don't have to take vitamins and they don't have to get their blood taken. And people, I mean my boyfriend, because he's stupid.
That's right, Zach.
And he's the worst bariatric patient in this whole world. And I'm like, no, you have to take your vitamins and you have to take them that are formulated for a bariatric patient.
Yes.
And you have to get your blood taken so that they know if your body is absorbing the vitamins.
Yes. And I will just tell you, people all the time are like, how do you maintain your weight loss? Well, one, what does that even mean? I've had ups and downs. It is normal for your body weight to change.
Yeah.
Pre and post surgery, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? Because I still don't drink when I eat, because I take a multi, because I see the doctor, I get labs done. I don't drink out of a straw, right? I literally follow the basic instructions.
Yeah.
As I look over at our 2 straws. No, I mean, we do all of the things, but the straw. Well, and I drink carbonation, but it's just water. It's like bubbly water. There's no flavoring. There's no nothing.
Well, and I
don't feel like I have to. I feel like I have to justify it. I don't know why. I feel like it.
You do not have to justify it, right?
But I will hold tight to that eating and drinking at the same time.
Yes.
And because I had a 60-pound regain, and along with that regain, I stopped paying attention to that. I stopped eating, like I started eating and drinking at the same time.
Yep.
Therefore, I was washing all that food down, and I started gaining. Couldn't figure it out. And then when I had said something to, it was either my therapist or Jamie, one of the two, and they're like, "Wait a minute,
hold on.
When did you start gaining weight?" Oh yeah. Well, there were multiple
reasons.
I stopped taking certain meds.
That was the fun one that we found out.
Yeah, I got yelled at real hard for that one.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't know either.
I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my doctor. I was
with her every day and did not know that she was not taking her pills.
But I also think that it had to do with the fact that I was eating and drinking at the same time. I wasn't giving that time in between, and I wasn't respecting my restriction.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. I also, I know this is kind of a hotly debated thing, but like I still drink a protein shake.
Yeah.
Same. She does.
I do too.
Yeah. And some dietitians are like, no, get it all from food. I'm like, I'm going to get it from wherever I need to get it so that I meet my nutrition goals.
Well, I feel like that's normal. Like if you need a protein shake because you're on the go in the morning, isn't it better that you had a protein shake versus nothing?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's really important.
Or if you're not hungry at night, but you're still you're still drinking a protein shake, isn't it better than nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%
it is.
Like, better than nothing, but I also think that, yes, you should get the majority of your nutrients and food from actual food. You shouldn't live on protein shakes and protein bars for the rest of your life. Correct. But if it's a part of your routine, so what? If it works for you.
Well, and I'm really active. I do Orange Theory. Like I work out a lot. And so like I just can't possibly get the calories to sustain that activity unless I were to supplement or whatever. Right. But I still occasionally work with a registered dietitian and have her look over everything. Right. And so I think when we start slacking on like ensuring those things or backsliding maybe, right? That's when we start running into trouble, I think.
Yeah, I would highly agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of getting back to the eating disorder stuff, it was really like a decade and a half, well, probably like 15 years that I really was like working with doctors and being informed about some food allergies and things like that, and no support for that. But my weight was still really high, and I was just not believed at all by doctors' offices, like whatsoever. They were like, yeah, I don't know. I would do like, I don't know if anybody else has done the HRM diet, which is it's a medically supervised diet. And I would it's like chocolate pudding, right? And then packaged meals. And you just eat that.
That's what that fucking dick tried to get me on. Oh my God. Okay. So side squirrel moment, because my blood pressure just raised thinking about it. So I went to go see what's the guy that does the needles? Like the little tiny needles, the acupuncturist.
Yeah.
So I was sent to an acupuncturist because my pain was so high. And this is like a few weeks before I had surgery, bariatric surgery. And I was sent to him because I was still having a lot of pain. He started on this whole thing of like trying to adjust my pain meds and then trying to like things that now I'm like, that's not even your scope of work. Get the fuck out. Like, no, I just was like, I didn't know. I didn't have any idea at that point. And so then he put me on ketamine, which I had to pay for out of pocket. And then I didn't like the way
like having someone, sorry, my face is like saying a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. So all through this time, all these meetings with this guy, right? Never once stuck a needle in me. Okay. Never once. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of this? Because he said he wanted to do all these blood tests and blah, 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 so that he knew what was going on with my body, whatever. So then I went in for an appointment. We were actually supposed to do acupuncture, right? And he looks at me and he goes, okay, so what's your pain scale today? I said, 7. It's always a 7. And he's like, well, I have a hard time believing that you're not just seeking drugs because you're not on the floor curled up in the fetal position.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I remember just being so defeated because I was like, in my head, I'm like, did he just say that I'm a pill seeker? Like, I didn't even want to be on these pills. And maybe he didn't even stop to think, oh, maybe I'm just used to the fucking pain that I'm in every single day.
Yep.
Like, just because I'm not curled, like, if I can giggle and I'm not curled up on the fetal position, that means I'm lying.
I guess.
Cool. Got it. But anyways, at the end of that meeting, he's like, okay, we're going to need you to buy this whole system and you're going to start doing this. And I think this would work so much better than you having that invasive surgery.
This invasive surgery.
And I was like.
So he wanted to put you on the HRMs?
Yes. I remember it because I looked at it. Because he's like, I'll give you some samples. I'm like, oh, thank you. And it was going to be like $500 a month for this.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe more. It was absolutely like astronomical. And I remember telling him, well, no, I'm going to have the surgery.
Yeah.
Like, and so I left it there and I was like, fuck that guy. I am not a pill seeker. I'm not taking any more pain meds. And I literally did not take another pain med until I had surgery. Because he offended me so much. Because I was like, I didn't even want to be on ketamine. Like, what are you talking about?
You're the one that prescribed it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, back to what you were saying.
But your HRMs.
Okay.
HRMs.
So I would do I did every diet, I swear. Some I've even forgotten the name of. But I did the HRM and I just remember going in because you have to go in weekly and be weighed and check in and all this stuff. And I was sticking to it meticulously, perfectly, right? And the nurse looks at me and she's like, I expected you to lose more weight this week. And I was just like, fuck you.
Wow.
I was just so I'm literally doing exactly what you told me to do, right? Yeah. And so I was like, I'll just get more perfect and I'll eat less. And you're already on only 800 calories a day on that diet, right? It's a very low calorie diet. Well, I'll just eat less and I'll just eat less and I'll just eat less, right? And so of course it kills your metabolism to do that. But anyway, so, I really had this very disordered relationship. Fortunately, I met with a trainer because I was like, I'm going to give this one more try. Really, the whole time I was at the gym, I was working out. I had a lot of other good health things going on. My blood pressure was great. There were other signs that I was physically pretty healthy.
Yeah.
And so I signed up with a trainer and I was like, I'll do whatever you say. I'll do whatever you say. And he was great. He's a good trainer and he'd be like, okay, this is what I want you to eat this week. This is how you're going to work out, all the things. I stayed with him for 6 months. Damn. And he was like, zero. At the end of that 6 months, I think I weighed 0.5 pounds less than when I started, half a pound.
Wow.
And that was the first time that I had somebody in the trenches with me, trying to figure this out. And he was like, I don't know what's going on, right? And I was like, thank fuck, because I don't either.
Yeah.
So, super validated. And around that same time, because I think at that point I was like, well, I didn't think I was heavy enough to have bariatric surgery because I would just watch, my 1,000-pound life or whatever, right? I didn't weigh that. And so I just never associated it in my mind. And so I was like, I'm going to do this with this trainer. And if it doesn't work, I'm just going to figure out how to accept this bigger body and its struggles, right? And around the same time that I was finishing up with a trainer, a girlfriend of mine, said she was going to have bariatric surgery.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, and then we started having a conversation and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. But, I'll tell you, because that promise was always my North Star, I went to my surgeon, in Austin, and he's the surgeon that the nurses go to. And so I was like, okay, right. I'm going to go to the surgeon the nurses go to. Yeah. Good surgeon.
Yeah.
And so he's excellent surgeon. Dr. Ganta, if anybody wants the name. And Ganta. And when I met with him, all I cared about was the diabetes. Really, I was like, how do I, because it was just getting worse and worse and worse. Right. At that point, I'd been a diabetic for over a decade. And it was just getting worse and worse. And so he said, I don't know how true this really is, but it worked for a while. But he said, well, basically, when we remove the fundus in a sleeve gastrectomy, that removes the part of the organ of the stomach that produces ghrelin,
Correct. Yep.
which is the hunger hormone,
Yep.
right? But they've also found that ghrelin can impede the functioning of the pancreas.
Okay.
And so when we remove this organ and we remove a lot of that hormone from your body, the pancreas can function normally.
Oh.
And the diabetes goes away. And I was like, sign me up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
Sign me up. Right. And so I had surgery May 10th, 2016. And it went well. It was fine. And I was a slow loser, you know,
Same.
I was a slower loser. And I was fine with that because up until then, this was still easy for me, right? I wasn't killing myself at the gym and I wasn't like being crazy with what I was eating. And so, you know, I did really well. I had a remission, and this is, I hate to tell people this, but it's just true. It is just reality. I had a diabetes remission of 5 years.
Wow.
So all of the studies with diabetes and bariatric surgery do not go past 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a really strong predisposition to being diabetic, you know, especially like the genetics of my family, then losing weight may not cure it. Now, I will say I'm in a way better position to manage it. Even now, I'm on way less medication than I was on before, right? It's easier to control and all of that kind of stuff.
Good.
So, you know, I mean, you can get it, but it's still worth it to have the surgery and be at a lower weight. You know, being at a lower BMI makes my diabetes way less impactful on my health.
Sure. So what was your highest weight and what's your current weight?
So my highest weight was 225 and my current weight is 134.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. And how did you transition into being a therapist?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story, but
we like stories here.
Because, right, it's a podcast, of course we like stories. So I actually was never intending to be a therapist. I went to school to be a social worker.
Okay.
And I wanted to work in medical social work. I had a background as an EMT, as a medical assistant and things like that. My kids had, you know, didn't really need me quite as much anymore. And so I was like, oh, what am I going to do in the next season, right, of life? And so I went back to school to be a social worker. I am a social worker still. And I was accepted into a program at the University of Texas at Austin, which is where I graduated from. And the program was part of Dell Medical School, where they embed social workers with doctors and pharmacists and nurses and nurse practitioners. It was pretty cool. It's actually a very, very cool program.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It was. So I was working in infectious disease in spring of 2020.
Convenient.
So my that whole
I don't know why that's funny
to me. I know, right? Whenever I tell people that, they're like, "What?" And I'm like, and it was as horrible as you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And so they actually ended my program. And because I was in a final field placement is what it's called for social work. And so I was sent to do therapy in the middle of the pandemic during our George Floyd riots. As I was also traumatized and I was like, I needed to graduate. So I needed a certain amount of hours. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is how I'm going to get them. But I never intended to be a therapist. And then I had to be one. And I actually really, really loved it a lot. And I started seeing a lot of people who had similar experiences to me around eating and their relationship with their body and food and things like that, and how gaslit they had been and their whole life with the medical community and things like that. So, you know, that kind of snowballed into what I do now, which is I work with a lot of bariatric clients with eating disorders. And I think a really I read a statistic on the ASMBS, I don't remember what all that stands for, but it's the Association of Metabolic Surgeons, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so the statistic is 70% of bariatric patients meet diagnostic criteria for binge eating disorder prior to surgery. And I know, right? And if they have an active eating disorder, they should not have bariatric surgery.
Okay. Oh, did not know
Yeah,
that.
that is clearly not what is happening.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
I mean, for them to find out if I had an eating disorder at all was a 15-minute phone call.
Yeah. And that is absolutely criminal. That is not at all how you assess for an eating disorder.
Yeah.
But there's no money in that, right? No. So I don't personally do psychological assessments, because if I think somebody has an eating disorder, I'm going to say, no, they should not have surgery.
Right.
Because that's the ethical thing to do, right? Well, surgeons aren't going to send somebody to me for an assessment if I know that 70%, that means 7 out of 10 people you send my way, I'm going to say no to.
Right.
And I just,
So who else feels like portion control is the #1 hurdle in a weight loss journey?
I know I do, but that is why we go to Portion Perfection to get all of our needs met, because they have cups, they have bowls, and they even have recipes for us. It's so nice.
They also have the kit and carry, which is perfect for on-the-go portion control. So click the link below and get yours today.
Are you located in the Florida area?
Well, we have the perfect office for you. Dr. Fridley and his wife, Macy, have created the perfect, welcoming, and safe place for your bariatric journey.
That's right. So click on the link below to start your weight loss journey now. And don't forget to tell them that the OSLP's girls sent you.
I know I didn't have enough support during my weight loss journey.
She didn't. And when we found the tribe, we were over the moon, because not only do they offer you at least one support group a day, but they give you the tools and the knowledge to really succeed on your journey.
That's right. So go over to thesleevedietitian.com and find the subscribe button for the tribe and use OSLP to get your discount.
What do you remember questions or what they asked for you to be like diagnosed that you have an eating disorder? Like, what are the telltale signs, I guess?
Yeah. So first you have to realize there's 4 primary eating disorders, right? So there's binge eating disorder. And we talk a lot about that, right? In bariatric world.
We do.
And it changes, right? So everybody knows what binge eating disorder is primarily, right? It's binging, eating an excessive amount. It looks a little bit different as a post-op, right? That's where you're going to see the eating a lot of slider foods, eating like high calorie, sugary foods, things like that. Eating past the feeling of fullness, right? Like that's kind of how it'll look. It's not before surgery. It might look like getting 3 meals at the McDonald's drive-through, eating 1 for yourself in the car and taking home 2, and then eating the second one right at home, right? It looks like that kind of stuff. Hiding how we're eating, things like that. So that's binge eating disorder.
Okay.
Then we also have bulimia, right? That's your binging and purging. And so purging can look like active throwing up. That's often what people think about with purging. But purging is also actually exercise purging. So first and foremost, anytime we are trying to actively lose weight, we are engaging in purging, right? If you're going to the gym to burn off calories for the food that you ate, that is technically exercise purging. Whether it is adaptive or maladaptive depends on the person, right?
Okay.
And so if you're going to the gym and you're working out 2 hours, I would probably start questioning that.
Okay.
You're doing it multiple times a week, I'd probably start questioning that. more than 2 hours, I would definitely be questioning that, right? Because there's no reason now, unless you're an athlete, like on a sports team, right? Or maybe you're a body lift or, power bodybuilder, right? There are reasons why somebody might do that. So it's not really cut and dry or black and white as to like, yes, no, right? So you got to dig a little bit as to why is somebody doing this behavior to assess whether it's adaptive or maladaptive.
Or especially like when you'll be like, well, I'm going to eat this cookie, but now I'm going to go be in the gym for 3 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. So that would be bulimic behavior.
Yeah.
And it's also everywhere in the workout fitness industry too.
Oh, what's interesting is because we kind of talk to a lot of guys, like bodybuilders and people that got really into exercising after surgery, and it's rampant with men. They have no idea what they're really doing, but it's rampant. And we watch men take like literally just like pick themselves apart through the mirror while they're doing the weights, while they're doing all the things. And you're like, oh my God, stop. Like,
well, and men, we really don't talk about eating disorders in men, which is shows up very differently, right? But purging can also be spitting and chewing. It can be laxative use, right? People do that too.
You know what's interesting about the laxative one? I've thought about it.
And diuretics too, yeah.
Diuretics, yeah. I've totally thought about the laxative one. Never done it, but it has come to my mind a few times back in the day of like, I heard that works. Let's just clear out the system.
Yeah. Yep.
So we can justify it so easily, right? And it's not like right when I was restricting, because if I didn't, my baby and I were going to die, right? Well, that's a really adaptive strategy. So that's the other thing. I really want to de-shame anybody who might be listening that's feeling shame about the behavior. Absolutely not. You are trying to get a really valid need met by engaging in these types of coping strategies, right? And what has happened is that these coping strategies have now just like ballooned into something that's kind of developed a life of its own by the time you have an eating disorder, right? Eating disorders are a spectrum. Like nobody starts out bulimic, right? No. We start with, I just want to lose 10 pounds and I'm going to go to the gym. And we go, oh, well, if a little bit is good, more is better, right? That's such a logical, normal thing to think, right? So the other eating disorders are ARFID, ARFID, avoidant restrictive feeding and intake disorder. So that often happens as part of a traumatic experience. So like if there was a choking event when you were, a child, things like that. And so it's a lot of fear around eating food, and you get very restrictive as far as like textures of foods and things like that. One that is not an official diagnosis, but will probably be included in the next iteration of our DSM, which is our diagnostic manual for mental health, is orthorexia. It's not actually an official diagnosis.
Orthorexia. What is that?
Orthorexia is a gateway of restriction that's about perfectionism in the cleanliness of your food. Like Whole30 would be a great example of orthorexia. Organic, grass-fed, like all of that kind of stuff, pure, clean, the 10 clean ingredients, right? But it's like on steroids, not like, so that one is there as well, and I'm probably missing one, but that's kind of the primary ones,
Okay. So
anorexia is the one I'm missing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what's the difference between restriction and anorexia?
So restriction, every single person who has bariatric surgery has engaged in restriction. We had our surgery is restriction. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. Right? So how does that not make us anorexic? Well, in some people it does.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I know plenty of people who are like, I'm going to lose all my weight only eating 300 calories a day. Well, I'd start asking about that. Right?
Yeah.
I'd start digging into that. That's pretty scary and not sustainable. Right? And so, it's about degrees. It's about degrees of and what is kind of the emotion underneath engaging in a behavior that's fueling this thing that you're doing, right? So what's the difference? When I went and had surgery, I was keeping a promise to manage my diabetes, right? For the sake of my children. That is fueled by love.
Yep.
Right? For my kids and my family, right? Now that could teeter pretty easily if I wasn't also in therapy. So let's also make clear, like I didn't just figure this shit out on my own.
Right.
I've had a decade of my own therapy, right? I'm the therapist who's the therapist. We call it my clients call it the grand therapist, and I'm like, and you know who she is, but yes, I also have a therapist.
Yeah, all therapists have one.
Yep.
They do.
Well, good ones do.
Yeah, the good ones do. Yes. And so, it's all about degrees. I don't know if that answered the question, but
no, it does. It does. My other question is, within the bariatric community, what do you see the most, and like prior to having surgery, and then what do you see the most after surgery, and what do you see, because you're in the community, so what do you see kind of rolling around in that? I know that was a very long question, but
no.
Yeah.
No, I think this question is so important. So let me back up at one step, which is, if you have to understand compulsive behavior, right? We go into surgery, maybe we have binge eating disorder, 70% of us do. But maybe we have other coping strategies. And so addiction at its core is, we have process addiction and substance addiction, right? At its core is a compulsive behavior. I can't stop doing this thing to manage my feelings. That's all addiction is an attempt to manage an overwhelming emotion, right? And that's deserving of empathy and compassion, actually.
Yeah, 100%.
100%, right? And so the behavior of driving while drunk is going to get some limits, right? But the need to manage our feelings is a valid need. And so before we have surgery, we have this way of being in the world in which we've got our coping strategies, healthy and unhealthy. And then we have surgery, and those coping strategies are no longer available to us. So what I see in the bariatric community over and over and over again is the transfer addiction, the transfer of the compulsive behavior. And you can do that with eating disorders. You can be a binge eating disorder person before surgery, and you can become a bulimic after surgery, or an anorexic or an orthorexic after surgery. That's the thing I see a lot. And that is what I think you were talking about, Mel, is that these guys, women do it too, right? They have the surgery. Maybe they were binge eating before, and now they're developing a bulimic presentation.
Yeah.
And you can have a combination of bulimia and anorexia, and we call that OSFED, other something, specified feeding and eating disorder. There you go. I was like, oh, it's right there.
So anorexia and bulimia together?
Yes.
So what is that again? Say that
so that looks like I'm going to super restrict.
Okay.
Perfect. I'm going to track every morsel that goes in my mouth, right? I'm going to be like super, super strict. And I'm going to work out 3 hours a day.
Yeah. Because, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm on the same page.
So that's what you see a lot in our community?
I do see it a lot in our community. And I see people sharing that with each other, right? Of like, no, we can just, in fact, somebody directly talked about it, right? Where they were like, oh, no. You can just transfer your addiction to working out. And you can just go work out multiple hours a day. And I'm like, no. We don't do that. What are you feeling, right? That's the trick, is you've got to identify the emotion before you go work out for 4 hours. Why? Why are you doing that? Nobody's body needs that.
That's concerning in so many ways.
Yeah.
I know.
It really is.
In so many ways, because we preach therapy. We preach it. We are both in therapy. We have recognized what a direct healing is from our therapists, from starting therapy and getting these things talked about. And so to have somebody say, oh, no, you can just transfer that into working out, because that's not any healthier for you. Just
Correct.
because you had surgery doesn't make it any healthier.
Well, and what you're really doing is it's just another form of transfer addiction.
Yeah, like they're not taking care of themselves. They're just literally transferring it. And it's scary to hear someone say that because, like, how do we know they're not going to be like, well, transfer that to alcohol? Or, hey, you got lots of money, transfer that to gambling. Like, shopping. Like, it's
Which
wild.
is still not any healthier because, again, you're not dealing with the underlying issue.
Right.
You have to deal with the underlying issue in order to move past an addiction.
Yeah.
And I just... Oh, Kitty, why are you making me so angry?
I know. I'm so great at, I just want you to know that like my clients often will be like, why are you such an asshole? And I'm like, because you pay me to be one. And they're like, you're right. I do. Yes.
No, I love that you're bringing this into our attention, because that means, and you know, we had spoken prior to starting the recording, and this is something that is needed to be talked about.
Yes.
This is, and I feel like this needs to be said, is like, this is not an easy episode for anybody involved in it, nor is it supposed to be easy to listen to. It is supposed to be something that you take a long, hard look at yourself and your life and what you're doing. Because I know, so when I had surgery, I was overweight, I was unhappy, I was in pain every day. I was doing everything that I could to survive daily. So when I had surgery and I was like, I'm not hungry, I'm going to be the perfect patient, I'm not going to eat carbs, I'm not going to eat sugar, I'm going to cut all these things out, and I'm going to eat below the level that I need to, because I was losing weight. And I was feeling better than ever.
Yep.
So I literally did exactly what you're saying. I transferred my binge eating, because I was in pain and stuck in bed, to I'm going to eat the least amount that I possibly can, because I want to continue losing weight and I want to continue to feel good and look good. So I'm going to do that. And then what happened? I didn't deal with those emotions. So when my husband left me and I went through a majorly traumatic divorce, what did I start doing? I started binging again. I started gaining weight, and I still hadn't dealt with the underlying fucking issue, which started the whole process.
Yeah. The whole process.
So it has to be talked about, because it's not just this person that's in the corner not talking about it. Like, this is running, like, that, literally, that's me.
Like, and I think that like we get together, right? When we're around each other, it's so exciting and validating to be around other people walking this life, right? Like this journey, it is a lifelong journey, but there's some hard shit we got to talk about too. And I'm not hearing those conversations, and I'm good at those conversations because I do it every day. I tell people like, why are you doing this stupid thing? And they're like, I don't know. Right. And so we just got to talk about it and make space for that. But what I really, really want viewers to hear, listeners to hear, is that NEDA, NEDA.org, is a National Eating Disorder Association that has a shit ton of resources, right? You can read, there's books, there's podcasts like this one, there's like resources out there. It doesn't have to be expensive. If you can't afford therapy, which not everybody can, just be real, there's join like Berry Nation, your Patreon, like that is going to be way more affordable for you than maybe therapy, right? It's so invaluable. Like get off the God blessed Facebook groups. Like, oh my,
they're awful. I do want to point out too, is that there is the tribe, and that is another really great source, because it's all we're both in the tribe. And so we love the support groups. There's over 40, I think, every month.
There's literally at least one support group a day, if not two.
And they cover all different types of issues, you know, cultural eating and how to transition. You know, in that type of way. There's ones for moms. There's ones for pre-op. Like
PCOS.
There's even one now for if you're on a semi-glutide, which is amazing. So I do want to point out, like, there is a lot of different programs that you can go to, and it's very affordable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very affordable. And the other thing, and we'll kind of walk through a little activity together if you want to.
Love activities.
And
I
so
know you don't.
so
Sorry.
She said she loves those, and we both were like, "No, you don't."
No, I
Kelly,
don't.
yeah.
I don't like to
This is
not
nice. You're gonna-
participate.
No.
You don't need to participate in the
Okay,
activity.
cool. I'm good.
I like to participate.
People can do it at home if they want to.
Okay.
So you just get a piece of paper out and you write down all the behaviors that you're doing that you hate, right? Like, I can't stop drinking, or I can't stop eating, or whatever the thing is. I scroll TikTok too much, right? Whatever the thing is that you're doing that you don't like.
Okay.
And then you ask yourself, what am I feeling when I do that thing? Okay. What am I feeling? What emotion?
Okay.
Now, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
I feel sad. I feel tired. I feel angry, right? I feel grief. I feel disconnected. I feel shame. There's all these things. And actually, I like to talk about the 4 horsemen of emotions, which is shame, grief, disconnection, and anger. So usually when we're engaging in a behavior that we wish we would not engage in, it's because we're feeling one of those 4 horsemen of emotions.
Can you repeat those 4?
Yes. Shame, grief, disconnection, and anger.
Okay.
Those are feelings humans will do anything to avoid. Anything. We hate those feelings, right? We will drink to oblivion so that we can stop feeling that. Yep. We will take opioids. We will eat, right? We will do whatever we can to stop feeling.
Sounds like my ex.
Yeah, to the T. To the T.
So you identify, what am I feeling when I do this thing? Okay. Then you identify the situation that led to the feeling. So we're creating a little chain, right? Kind of working back up the chain, because it's easy to identify the behaviors, right? Maybe the behavior is ruminating. I can't stop my brain, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
There's a feeling, there's a situation that has happened. But here's the trick that you got to figure out is your brain has made a association between a situation and a feeling and what it says about you.
Oh.
Right? So an example, if I'm overweight, I'm going to die. That was the association my brain made. Right? If I don't work out, I'm not holding my promise. And then I'm a promise breaker, right?
Yeah.
But often these stories that we make up, that we have made up, come from childhood, right?
Okay.
They come from childhood. Everything that we know is something we have learned. And so when we're children, we internalize everything. If my mom yelled at me, it's because I'm unlovable, right? That's the work you have to figure out in therapy. And once you figure out that story, the behaviors fall by the wayside.
That is why people should go to therapy right there.
Yep.
Because I hear all the time, why do I need it? I know my problems. Well, you don't know how to process them. And then that right there, they actually fade away once you address it.
Yes. And I can say, like, I had actually a triggered moment over last weekend.
Yes, you did.
Me and Mel were talking about it. And it was somebody pounding on a wall really, really hard. It triggered me so hard that I went back to my marriage, my ex, whatever it's called. And then even further back to my childhood with my mom and my dad in the same house. Now, my mom left my dad when I was 5.5. I think it was 5.5. And weird that I remember that. But I don't really remember anything back. Like, I only remember from the moment we stopped living with my dad forward. And so it put me way far back. Yeah. And I was able to work it out with my therapist. And I don't feel as triggered by those things now that I've talked about it and worked through it and been like, this is why I don't like, this is why these things trigger me because of this instance.
Yes.
From my childhood. So.
Right. But just understanding that, right? And if you don't have like a trauma therapist or a therapist who knows how to do that work, like that can be really, really tough, right? To figure that out and make sense of why am I doing this thing? And would you shame 5.5-year-old you?
No.
Probably not. She's a little girl, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She just loved Ariel and wanted to watch Disney all the time. How is that bad?
And how is that any different from today?
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
All have our own inner children.
Yes.
I was gonna say we're all like.
I
went kind of dark
so
though. I was
sense.
like in my head. I instantly was like, yeah, we're all just like broken children.
Well, is that why I like to watch Disney? Because I felt safe and wanted to do that 100%. Back then. 100%.
I've been telling you this.
Yes.
It just made sense in my head.
No, it's like. Oh, yeah, because it's happy, it's fantasy, it's comforting.
Nothing bad happens.
Nothing bad. That's why you love Disney World. That's why you literally always say it's like you will run away to Disney World.
Yeah, that was a thing that I learned with my therapist is because I was like, I run away. So like any trips that I take, it's me running away. It's not, I'm going on vacation. And he said, why do you feel like that? And it was a whole discussion. And then I was like, okay, because I run away to Disney.
Yeah.
I run away to Universal because nothing bad can happen in Disney.
And there's always a happy ending.
There's always a happy ending. I will prove it.
No, I know. I said that. I said they make sure of it.
Oh, I thought you said prove it. I was like, other than the guy, flasher naked guy that happened,
like fighting.
You see that face?
You don't fuck with my Disney.
Yeah. No, they make sure that you can literally walk up to a character and say you're having a bad day, and they will make sure it changes.
Yeah, and they actually if you hug them, they cannot let go until you let go.
Yeah. So if you need an 8-second hug,
you grab it.
You get it.
Yeah, I love Disney.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all about making sure it's magical.
I worry about the cleanliness of the costumes and stuff, and I'm like, who else has been touching these people?
Sorry. No, I don't care.
Kelly's.
Yeah.
Kelly's.
I run down alleys. I will kick kids out of the way to get to Disney or get to Mickey first.
Okay, so we are totally squirreling.
Yes,
for like a
squirrel moment. This is one of Mel's favorite stories to tell.
Yes, because her and Jamie, sleeve dietitian, that's who I was with for Epcot, right?
Yes. Yep.
This is the Epcot story?
Yep.
Okay.
Epcot.
And here's the thing. They're all dressed up. They're super cute. They're like little girls. I'm literally behind them in like a rocker shirt, and I'm just like,
hey, you wore the Epcot ears.
I wore the Epcot ears, but I was in my rocker shirt.
Yeah, you were.
And I was watching them because people are watching them, and they're not noticing people are watching them. And so I'm like, I feel like I'm like protector. I'm like, okay, don't mess with my girls, whatever. And I'm taking their photos, doing all the things. But then they wanted me to go down an alley to take photos of them with Goofy, right?
And Mickey.
And
Nothing bad's gonna happen if I walk down an alley.
I was like,
with
that's
Mickey.
where I stop, guys. They're like, what? I'm like, I'm not going down an alley to take pictures of you guys with cartoons.
Yes,
caricatures.
It's fine. I took a selfie.
It's too creepy to me.
I took a selfie.
I would have done it.
Took each other.
Right?
I would have done it.
It's Mickey.
It's
fucking Mickey.
Yeah, I mean,
I had never met Mickey before.
I mean,
that's why I freaked out.
go down an alley to meet Mickey.
No. Oh yeah, hands down. Nothing bad's gonna happen. I had to kick a little kid out of the way.
See?
Like, get out of here. I've been waiting my whole life to meet Mickey. You just started.
You just started. That's true. You're like, I've waited 36 years for this damn thing. You're too little. Me first.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been
paid your dues yet.
Yeah, you have not fought enough to meet Mickey.
That's right.
Back of the line.
You didn't work to get that money. Your parents did.
Yeah. This isn't on your credit card. Get to the back of the line.
Get to the back.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
it's because I love thriller, suspense, horror movies. So we're exactly opposites. Mm-hmm. It's quite funny.
I don't do the horror.
She won't do anything that erases those emotions.
Mm-mm.
Oh no, I want like blow up sci-fi. Give me Avengers, but I read trashy novels. So
I love trashy novels.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I won't do Marvel movies anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
I only go if my kid wants to go or whatever, but I'm not
Well, because Eric broke you with
Eric did break me, my ex, with those. I've seen every one literally in order. And that's as of when Captain Marvel came out and all the Avengers and all the things. The Endgame, I will never fucking watch the Endgame. Guess what, guys? It ends. You don't need a 3-hour thing of that. But I hate the whole
ending.
You are a monster.
I know. No. It ends. Guess what? Santa Claus isn't real. There isn't no tooth fairy, and the end game actually ends.
I think that you need a trigger warning for that before you.
Right? I know.
What if people are like not finished with it yet?
I know. Sarah, you are listening right now. We love you. Sarah Pulling. Just put that in the description. I'll be saying some Santa Claus and fairy stuff.
Don't listen to this around children. Jesus, you just ruined so many childhoods.
Oh my God. You know who did? My kid. My kid did that at elementary school.
Did he tell somebody that Santa Claus didn't exist?
He told all of like second grade. That
Dylan
Santa
Ryan.
Yeah, I know he just peeked in too.
Dylan Ryan.
Sorry, we got way off topic, but
we did. Anyways, okay.
It's the end of the day for all of us, so you know.
Yeah, it is. I think this is like the best conversation. It is so important, just like you said in the beginning of us. Like this is a topic that needs to be talked about. We have to realize that just because it's healthy doesn't make it healthy.
Yeah.
There is a way. There is diet and a diet. There are two different terms.
That's why we're changing it.
Yeah, it's now food hygiene.
Food hygiene.
Food hygiene. I haven't heard that one.
I made it up.
Yeah,
I made it up.
Well, you made it up. Yeah,
but I think it works because I'm tired of the word diet because then everybody thinks diet culture immediately. And they don't understand like, no, this is just the way that I fucking live. Like this is not like a diet. Like I'm on a diet. No, this is what I eat now. So
well, and I think that's part of why I wanted to talk, right? Like, because if I'm an OG, right, there's nobody out there who's 10, 15 years ahead, right? Like, because I think what happens,
very few,
very few, because they're just like, well, this is just my life now. Like, it's not really something I think about or talk about a whole lot, but I think it's really important that people that have multiple years behind them successfully, who've dealt with their shit, who go to therapy, who walk the walk, right? Need to be talking about these things.
Correct.
Absolutely. Because you're 7 years?
Almost 8.
Yeah, and I just hit 8, so we're really close together. And mine's in May too.
Yeah,
mine's May 13th, 2015.
Yeah,
so it's kind of crazy.
Because
you're May 10th, 2016.
Yeah, you're like a year ahead of me.
Yeah,
you're
1 year.
You're OG'er than me.
OG'er than me.
Yeah,
but it does take some OGs though that have been successful that do need to talk more because people think that literally like. The population thinks that we all regain everything around like year 3.
Yeah.
And that by year 5 we have all of the weight back and we're all fucking up. But that's not true.
That's not true.
So not true. And so we just have to speak more about it.
And I think the balance too is that everybody thinks I'm going to have surgery and everything is going to be great. And I wish that were true, but like, it's just not. Like sometimes there's been consequences of my surgery, that's just reality. And I'd still rather have these consequences than the alternative. But I mean, it's not perfect. And I see a lot of people like start to weight regain or have other health issues and they feel like I'm a failure, right?
That's how I felt.
And you're not failing, right?
No.
Or I fucked up and it's like not necessarily the case, right? Like I did something wrong. No, it's not true. It's just, it's not a perfect fit and it's not going to be perfect. And you're still going to have health shit that happens.
100%. And just know that's normal life.
Yeah. That's just life.
Like, I know we always like, well, after and post-op, like life, but it's like, that's still going to happen regardless whether you had surgery or not. Like these problems are going to arise. Like, the fact that we got divorces or a friend or family member has died, those things will happen. It's your reaction and how you're using your tool. And do you have someone to talk to? Do you have a support group? Like you need all those things, whether you had surgery or not. Just people forget that you do need a therapist, whether you had surgery or not.
Yeah.
You do need like your doctors, your dietitian. You should have a dietitian. The fact that like, none of us did. I never did until now.
I did.
So it's like they don't even recommend it, which makes no sense. Like,
I
you have a weight problem. That's it.
Yeah. I paid out of pocket for my surgery. And so I didn't have to see the dietitian except for one 30-minute conversation.
I actually really liked my dietitian. But that was like 6 months and then not really.
Yeah, I only
anything.
had to meet mine once.
Yeah.
Just like you did. It was like, but mine was an hour.
And I worked with Jamie.
And I had to pay for it.
But that was a different, like.
But that was like years after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember any of my doctors saying, well, you need to start losing weight. Here's a dietitian to talk to.
Yeah. Oh, no.
There was no solution. It was just
go do it.
Lose weight, you fatty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do kind of want to throw out there that I think that if you're, if listeners are thinking about working with a dietitian, which they should be thinking about that, to just be a little bit cautious. There are a lot of dietitians out there in the community who are very health at every size oriented and very, not that I have a problem with that particular belief system, but they're very shaming upon folks who have had bariatric surgery. So, if you're going to work with a dietitian in your community, ask, what is your experience with bariatric patients? Have you worked with them? And what is your framework for working with clients?
Oh, I love that.
Good tip.
Because we've learned from dietitians and even nurses and surgeons that there's a lot of biases that go on within the medical community. There's a lot of stigmas, especially around obesity. And it is a problem with all different professions. So definitely ask.
Yes. Definitely. Always ask. Like, you're the customer, right? Like, it's really important whether you're looking for a therapist or a dietitian that you feel comfortable with that person.
And I don't think you should just hop onto a dietitian because they're big in a community.
Right.
I feel like you should find the right fit for you. And I don't think, because I see it sometimes where it's like a scarcity. I only have this many spots open. And I think you should stop and think like, okay, is this somebody that if they had unlimited spots, I would want to work with?
Yeah.
And what am I looking for as far as a dietitian? I know when I first asked Jamie to be my dietitian, she's like, what are you wanting? Like, what are you looking for in a dietitian? I was like, I don't know, macros. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm looking. I just want to fucking lose weight again. Yeah. Like, that was what it boiled down. And she's like, I don't think macros are going to help you. Like, I feel like there's other things going on. And she was like, I can give you some people that I think would be a really good fit. So that would be another thing is like reach out and ask, like, what do you do as a dietitian, as a client, if this is what I'm looking for? So,
well, and I think that that's like the first question you should ask yourself. Why do you want to work? What do you want to work on? Right? Like, what are you trying to change? Because at the end of the day, whether you're working with a dietitian or a therapist, all we're doing is having a change conversation. And so what do you want to change? Is it a behavior? Is it a feeling? Is it a thing you're doing? Like, what is it that you want in therapy or with a dietitian? Don't just go do one just because everybody says go to therapy, right?
Find the one for
you. Figure out what you want moving forward as being a part of a healthy body and a healthy mind. Like putting those two together, what do you see? I think that would be a good question to journal on personally. 100%. Like when you think about good mental health and good healthy body, what do you envision your life looking like?
What does that look like to you?
Yeah. What behaviors do you want to stop doing
and start doing
to create that?
Here's another question, right? What do you think about your body? What do you think about your body?
Yeah.
How do you feel about your body? I'll tell you, as someone who now has like 5 autoimmune conditions.
Someone that beats you, Kelly.
I know, I have 4.
My psyche, my mind has some opinions about what this body is doing. But you know what? This body houses my soul, houses my heart, houses my love for my children, right? Houses my love for my family. Yeah. And so this body is the one I got to the end, right? I'm not going to spend it hating it. I'm not going to spend my life dieting anymore. I won't do it.
Yeah.
So if I got to figure out what the mind thinks about my body, then I'm going to figure that out because I'm not going to spend my life at war with it.
Oh my God.
I like
That's
that.
so great. I think we should end it there.
Can you write down housing your soul? Because I think I don't know what that one got me. Housing your soul.
It is the house.
It really is. Yeah.
I like it.
I like it.
All right.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Katie, for being on. It was amazing. And I can't even tell you how grateful I am that you reached out and that we got to discuss these things because
we
they're
got
so
to
important.
Meet you at the retreat.
Yes, we got to hug you in person.
I love it. I got to
it was
touch
so
you.
Cool. Yeah, you got to poke her.
I got to poke her.
Yep.
I did.
Not in a weird way.
Not in a weird way.
Yep.
But it would be okay if it was weird because, I roll that way.
We're kind of weird together. Yeah, it's fine.
And just know all of her information will be linked below.
Yes.
So if you want to find Kitty, you can.
Yes.
And she does have pink hair.
Yes.
You have pink hair. It is pink.
Yes.
If you're on YouTube,
I see clients all over Texas too. So, Texas, I can work with you.
Perfect. Okay, so if you are located in the Texas area, click the links below. Find Kitty because she is, I love you already.
Phenomenal.
And don't forget to go over to our website, oursleevelifepodcast.com. Definitely check out Patreon, patreon.com/OSLP.
Yep.
And then click the subscribe and little bell on YouTube. I got it, Mel.
Those are all the things.
I got it, Mel.
You get it.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Yes. All right. And to everybody else out there, thank you so much for listening. We love you guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.